Hey everybody, this is Brian here from Co-op Critics, and I am just doing a quick sort of impressions video on a game for the Nintendo Switch, and that is Fast RMX from Shinen Multimedia. This game is actually not necessarily a remake, but it's basically an updated version of the game that they did for the Wii U, I believe, which was Fast Racing Neo. I didn't even know that. I actually read that the other day, but it's one of the games that was available at launch for the Nintendo Switch as a download on the store, and I think it was either $15 or $20. But in any case, if you are a fan of Wipeout or if you're a fan of Ridge Racer, this game is pretty awesome. And the reason I did this video is because I was actually trying to do a test of my capture card with the Switch, and I haven't got it exactly figured out yet. I think I can get these videos to look a little bit better, but it came out pretty good. It's just it doesn't do the game justice in that the game actually looks really, really good. It's probably, outside of Zelda, the best looking game on the Switch so far. It's a very fun, very fast racer, and what I like about it is it sort of builds on what you already knew if you played Wipeout before. So as you can see, you have sort of these hover vehicles. You can choose from different vehicles. You unlock different vehicles as you go. And what you're seeing right now is that you're sort of hovering above the track, and there are these speed strips. But what's cool about it is these speed strips are actually two different colors. One is blue and one is sort of a yellowish orange, and you actually have to hit a button on the controller in order to switch between those two colors on your car. And only when your car matches the colors of the speed strip will you benefit from it. In fact, if you do not match your color to the speed strip and you go across it as I just did right there, then you will see that in fact you suffer a penalty. You get slowed down a little bit. So you want it like this one here, you go orange to blue to orange. You have to sort of switch back and forth really quickly. And so that adds another layer of complexity to the game, and the game is really fast. And so you're sort of breakneck speeding around these turns, and as you can see, I'm very sloppy, so I'm sort of bouncing off all over the place. But you have to constantly, in order to take advantage of the speed strips, flip around. And if you don't take advantage of the speed strips, as you'll see, the other cars, especially the 1 and 2 car, they are nearly, I don't want to say impossible to catch, but if you're missing all those speed strips or you're taking penalties for your speed, you are not going to catch them, even if you're driving better than I'm driving here, which is not too hard to do because I'm all over the place. But there is a real sense of speed to the game, and I like that. And managing what's happening on the track with the speed strips is something that takes a little bit of getting used to, but when you're doing it on the fly, it feels like you really are in control of what's going on, and it's sort of this really empowering feeling, because in order to catch all of them, you have to be pretty quick on the button. I've played this both in the handheld mode and also, actually I played it 3 ways. I played it in the handheld mode, I played it with the sort of Joy-Con controller, where you slide the Joy-Cons into the base, and you sort of, it's a makeshift controller. And then I've also played it with the individual Joy-Cons. My son and I have played against each other, and a little bit of multiplayer as well with the Joy-Cons held sideways. And all 3 of those work pretty well. Like, I was able to use just the one Joy-Con, and you turn it sideways like a Wiimote, and did fine with that. And then, using the handheld version is fine too, but the one with the joystick, where you're actually putting the Joy-Cons into the Joy-Con holder there, works really well, and that's what I did when I captured this particular video. So, but as you can see, the stages are really super colorful, lots of variation. The first one you saw was sort of in kind of a jungle setting. This one is up in space. I mean, it certainly kind of draws some comparisons to a Mario Kart, although this is much faster, and you're not so worried about power-ups as you are worried about, hitting those strips and really using those speed boosts to sort of jettison you forward. But there's a lot of vertical variation in the maps too. There are some maps where you can go high or low based on whether or not you hit a particular jump or you hit a speed strip. There are other maps where it branches off in 2 different directions. It reminds me a little bit of Wave Race 2 and those arcade games where you would, the jet ski games and stuff like that. It's got almost sort of a kind of like a stunt feel to it, where you're doing these amazing tricks and you can control your drift in the air. So when you're coming off of some of these big platforms, you can actually, if you don't hit it right, you're going to be pointed in the wrong direction. If you hit the thing going sideways, then it's going to slow you down when you hit the ground. And so there's enough control when you're in the air that you can really line yourself up to then maybe do a speed boost as soon as you hit the ground. You saw right there when another racer crashes into you, it sort of sends you into a tailspin, almost like Mario Kart. And so you definitely do not want that to happen. You want to be the aggressor, and you really want to use a combination of the speed strips and your speed boost, which you can see on the bottom is constantly building up in a meter. You want to use those 2 things effectively so that you're kind of almost always boosting or rubber banding yourself ahead of them. And speaking of rubber banding, that is usually a term that people do not want to hear when it comes to a racing game. I haven't found that happens too much. There are a few times where I have found the number 1 racer ahead of me, and I don't know how the heck he got there because I thought I was ahead of him. But in general, you are able to, as long as you're not making mistakes, put people behind you and, mosey on forth. Like here, I'm giving him a chance to catch up to me because I'm bouncing off of the stupid rails every time I take a turn. But it's not one of those things, and there you go, because I wasn't going fast enough. But once the other racer sort of catches up with you, it's not like you then can't still win the race. As you saw there, the other racer caught up to me, I was able to use my speed boost, I was able to get ahead, and I won by like less than 1 second. So it has that feel of really coming down to the finish, but at the same time, if you are running a stellar race, you're going to be able to put those racers behind you and you'll be fine. And as long as you're not making mistakes, they're not going to catch up to you. So this is just the first circuit. There's 3 tracks in each circuit, as far as I can tell so far. This is sort of the novice circuit, and the 3rd race coming up is, again, a totally different setting and a totally different track than this one here. And from what I've seen, there's at least 9 different sets of tracks. You can play this game multiplayer, so you can play against other people online. You're also sort of working against your own best scores when it comes to your times and stuff like that. And so it'll say like, oh, you set a new record on this track, or it's your best time ever, or whatever. So it feels like there's a lot of stuff to unlock. Oh, this particular track, now that I think about it, is the first one of the 3 in this first group that introduces obstacles, or things that can really derail you. And I mistimed my acceleration there and actually stalled at the front line. And you'll see in this particular race, I start off way behind, and I slowly kind of build myself back up and get back into contention. But this particular car that I'm driving to, or this vehicle, is kind of a well-balanced vehicle. It doesn't go as fast as some of the other ones, and it doesn't have as much boost, but I find that it handles pretty well. You can see those pink sort of lightning things that are coming down from the top. If they hit you, it'll spin you out, so you want to avoid those. But the other racers, which is kind of cool, will hit them. And there are other tracks that I've played where there are other obstacles on the track, and the other racers do hit them. So it's not like when you're playing against the AI, you're the only one that's hitting the obstacles. That's not the case. They are hitting it as well. So I feel like it's pretty balanced. I didn't feel like I was cheated out of victories, or I didn't feel like it was too easy for me to come back. Like, you have to continue to use those speed strips. You're seeing me switching between the orange and the blue there. If you're not doing that, you're just not going to be able to contend or to catch up if you're behind. And this is a game where you really have to use those effectively in order to catch up. So you can see there's a couple racers ahead of me, and I think I managed to not get hit by any of those in this particular match. But I like to play the speed strips off of the speed boost. So if we're coming down a straightaway, hit one of those speed strips and then follow that right up with a speed boost and kind of throw me ahead. I'm still working on getting the nuances down. Like, I missed both speed strips right there, and my handling is awful. As bad as it is in this one. Wait till you see the next video that I post. But I managed to catch up at this point. I'm in first place. You can see down on the right hand side that there are a couple of racers that are right behind me, and you could see where the track forks. Like, I didn't even notice that when I was racing. I'm looking at the map now and I can see that it forked there, but there are a couple different ways to do that. So that actually explains how the heck that other racer got in front of me, because it was a mystery to me before. So again, trying to avoid those obstacles while hitting the speed strips, trying to catch up to this number 1 car. We're in the final lap here, and it's exhilarating. The game moves really fast. The game looks really good. And I'm not even saying for a Switch game. This game just looks good. They did a nice job of bringing it over to the Switch. It looks like it's, you know, I didn't see any frame rate drops while I was playing. Any sort of pixelation or anything that you're seeing is through the capture card in the video that I made. It's not from the game. The game looks great. And I managed to pull ahead and win. So I basically won this little circuit of these 3 tracks. And you'll see sort of the celebration ceremony in a minute. So yeah, you get points for every win. So much like Mario Kart and plenty of other games, you don't have to be first in every race in order to win the gold overall, or, you know, win the top spot. So then at the end, you come in, they show you sort of the 3 top finishers, and then after that you get to see what you unlocked. And so I think I unlocked a couple new tracks and a couple cars. So, but lots of fun with this game. Again, I haven't put too much time into it yet, but it's a good game to test out the sort of streaming capability. So the good news is I've at least got the basics of my capture card figured out for the Switch, and am able to do some videos with that. Whether or not there'll be Nintendo first-party games will depend on how we want to deal with the whole creator program that they have thing, but I think we're okay with this one, unless you don't get to see it because it got flagged, or we just won't monetize it, but that's fine too. But I just wanted to do a test video, and this was a good one to do because I think a lot of people don't know about this game, and if you have a Switch and you're looking for a cool game to play, this game is super cool. It's super fun. It's a multiplayer game. It looks great, and it plays well either in handheld mode or, you know, TV mode, or whichever way you want to use the controller. So lots of fun. So there you go. If you like this video, please click like, subscribe to our YouTube page. I will be back again soon with more Switch games in the near future.